I'm really glad that this episode immediately addresses one of my biggest concerns going into it. I said in my preview discussion that I was worried about how episode 123, which mostly felt like filler, suddenly led into Liko and company raiding the headquarters of the explorers and getting into a serious battle that could lead to Charcadet's evolution. It felt like we skipped an episode. Well, thankfully, this episode immediately shows us that preparation did happen. Amethio met up with Liko and the others. We don't see when they contacted him or what they told him, but we do see that they've already connected, coordinated, and are working together. Amethio shares insider information, including a map, and it's clear that there has been planning going into this operation. Instead of dragging things out by showing every step, the episode, after a brief setup scene, transitions straight into the action and explains the plan as it's being executed. It's a clever way to save time while still making everything feel logical and earned. Because this certainly isn't something you just do on a whim. Now, it is a bit unfortunate that we don't get to see a lot of the actual fighting during the infiltration. Roy and Ult engage grunts off screen. Amethio, Onya, and Zerg do the same. Sure, these battles are just meant to draw attention away from the real objective, but it's still a little disappointing when battles happen off screen. With security distracted, Liko and Dot sneak in, and Dot starts hacking into the door that will lead them to the heroes. But of course, the explorers are one step ahead, which is exactly what you'd expect. Spinel is a master planner, always one step ahead, and sure enough, Rubella and Indy show up exactly where there was supposed to be a gap in security. They knew the rest was just a diversion, and this was the real objective. So despite their best efforts, Liko and friends couldn't outsmart Spinel. It seems Freed is the only one who can blindside him. To stop them, Rubella and Indy send out two Salamence, which are of course terrifying opponents since they are pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Thankfully, Amethio arrives in time to back Liko up, since Dot inexplicably doesn't have her Pokemon help her. I understand that she needs someone to guard her while she hacks the door, but surely with 3 Pokemon, she could have spared at least one to help Liko. But I get it. Logic aside, the true heart of the episode is Charcadet and its evolution, and how this moment is shared with Ceruledge and Amethio. Exactly how it should be, so no room for anyone else to interfere. Now, when I first predicted more than 2 years ago that Liko would catch a Charcadet, one of the main things I talked about was how she mirrors Amethio and how this parallel would lead to her getting an Armarouge. Episode 104 leaned into this heavily. Episode 111 showed them fighting side by side. It only makes sense that Amethio and Ceruledge would be here, in the battle where Charcadet will finally evolve. Again, this is how it had to happen. I absolutely love how Charcadet just puts on the auspicious armor, even though it's clearly too big for it. It's a knight at heart, like a kid who dreams of being a knight and finally gets to wear armor. It doesn't care that it doesn't fit, it puts it on anyway. Honestly, it looks adorable. But I love that the armor is not just a gimmick, it becomes a meaningful part of the battle. Liko uses it cleverly. First defensively, having Charcadet retract into it like a turtle, and then offensively, making takedown much stronger by using the weight and hardness of the armor, while also mitigating recoil damage. What could have been just a visual gag becomes an actual tool. As for the battle itself, I'd say it's actually pretty good. Not perfect, not groundbreaking, and certainly not at the level it should be, considering this is an important battle, but it succeeds more than it fails. There are still moments where the usual issues pop up. Ceruledge slashing at one of the Salamans is mostly just slash marks with minimal movement, almost like a static frame that then transitions into a really slow exchange where Salaman's attacks and the Ceruledge just hops back, with speed lines doing most of the work instead of actual motion. Salamence using Dragon Claw briefly turns into a still frame with just the slash effect moving. But right after this, you can actually see Salamence swiping away and Ceruledge reacting, blocking. There's real movement here. It's a perfect example of how this battle both struggles and shines at the same time. The Salamence pummeling Charcadet and the Ceruledge features clear motion, but it's very simple and clearly looped, so it feels a bit cheap. The Salamence also take hits with very minimal reaction. They just sort of shift back slightly. It lacks the sense of impact and the flair you'd expect. On the flip side, Salamence using Outrage to charge straight at Charcadet and Ceruledge, forcing them to jump out of the way, features real movement, and it actually feels impactful and dynamic. Though there is an abrupt cut here that is jarring and doesn't appear to be intentional. Ceruledge and Salamence duking it out, trading blows back and forth, with both of them swinging and reacting, features clear motion, weight, and energy. So overall, there's a lot of good and some bad. There's certainly more to love than hate. I love how at the start of the battle, Charcadet jumps in to tank a double flamethrower, knowing it has flash fire. This boost is a huge part of why it's able to keep up against two pseudo-legendary Pokémon. This works hand in hand with the armor, the extensive training Charcadet did, and additional flash fire boosts to ensure Charcadet can realistically contribute in this battle against opponents it normally wouldn't stand a chance against. This elevates the battle by making it feel believable. Another moment I really love is when Charcadet and the Ceruledge spin around firing their moves, literally covering each other's backs. I also really like Liko's strategy of using Fire Spin to surround them in flames, because this is actually a trap. Since Salamence can fly, there's nothing stopping them from entering the vortex through the opening at the top. But that's exactly what Liko is counting on, because once they go in, they are trapped inside the column of fire too, with no way out, making them easy prey for an epic, cool, and powerful combo attack. I love that the auspicious armor begins to glow as they attack, signaling that the evolution is imminent. I knew exactly what was going to happen. The fire would dissipate and we'd get Ceruledge and Armarouge standing side by side. And this is exactly what we get. Man, what an epic shot. Everything about this, their relationship, their mirrored journeys, their thematic connection was building towards this moment. Again, I called it over 2 years ago. Liko was going to end up with an Armarouge as the counterpart to Amethio's Ceruledge, and after all this time, it finally comes true almost exactly as expected. The reveal is just perfect. I love this moment so much, in fact, that I'm almost willing to completely forgive the fact that it's a bit cheap. Because by hiding everything inside the fire vortex, they get to skip animating the evolution. But the payoff is so strong that I'm willing to overlook this. It works beautifully by making the reveal of Armarouge and it standing alongside Ceruledge that much more dramatic. I also love that Armarouge immediately flexes its strength after Liko cleverly has it use Clear Smog to remove the effects of Dragon Dance, weakening the Salamence, and Ceruledge uses Bitter Blade. One of the Salamence avoids it, and Armarouge is hit instead. At first, this looks like a mistake, but it's intentional. Armarouge keeps Flash Fire after evolving. Ceruledge is deliberately boosting Armarouge, beautifully mirroring episode 111, the first and last time they fought together, and setting up Armarouge to finish the fight. And that's exactly what happens. Armarouge uses Armor Cannon, now powered up, to wipe out both Salamence. This moment is significant for several reasons. It's Armarouge learning its signature move, and I love that Liko tells it to use Ember and it transforms into Armor Cannon, something we've seen before in the anime. A Pokemon has a move turned into another mid-battle as an upgrade. Second, we get the amazing visual of Armarouge forming the cannon with its arms and armor. And third, there's something really beautiful symbolically here. Ceruledge striking Armarouge with its sword feels almost like a knighting ceremony, like it's saying, "You are now a true knight." And then Armarouge rises and destroys the enemy. It fits perfectly. And while this is technically an item-based evolution, it still feels completely earned. We've seen Charcadet's growth, its training, its improvement, especially during the Blueberry Academy arc. This feels like the natural reward for that journey. To really drive this point home, Liko even references said training, which is a nice touch, when Amethio is surprised by the fact that Charcadet can fire Ember rapidly. I also love how Liko thanks Ceruledge and Amethio, and how Amethio immediately turns it around and tells her this was only possible because of her. It's a really nice character moment that reinforces how much this evolution is tied to Liko's growth and her relationship with Amethio. It's notable that she withdraws Armarouge immediately after the battle ends so that it can rest, but Ceruledge, who also needs rest, sticks around for longer. This is because narratively, character-wise, for the full payoff and the parallels to hit the hardest, it must be present when Liko says thank you. Just fantastic. Moreover, I love that after evolving, Armarouge stands tall and raises a hand, almost like it's saying, "Halt, evildoers, for I have arrived." Very fitting for a newly ascended knight. Speaking of Liko and Amethio, I really love how this episode continues to build this dynamic in subtle ways. When Amethio stands on the observation deck and looks out, you can tell he's taking it in, seeing things from the perspective of the rising bolt tacklers. But what really gets me is when he remembers the first time he was here, all the way back in episode 3, when he and Liko were enemies. Now, without the episode spelling it out, he's clearly reflecting on how much things have changed. This continues later when he says that he wonders where Charcadet got its stubbornness from. He clearly knows Liko very well. It's a really nice way of reinforcing their connection without saying it outright. Now, even after delivering so many great moments, the episode doesn't let the tension drop. Instead, it ends on a sharp cliffhanger. The team is reunited only to be split up, and each of them is thrown into their own battle against the explorers and the heroes. Instead of ending on a calm, heroic note, we go straight back into danger. No time to breathe, no time to celebrate. The real fight is only just beginning, ensuring we walk away hyped for what's coming. So overall, this episode is a really interesting mix of strengths and weaknesses. The animation and the choreography are sadly inconsistent, and there are, unfortunately, definitely moments where it feels like the show is cutting corners, especially with the fire vortex scene. But despite this, the emotional payoff, the symbolism, and the narrative weight of Charcadet's evolution land hard. More importantly, this episode feels like the culmination of a long, carefully built arc, not just for Charcadet, but also for Liko and her relationship with Amethio. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to click the links on screen. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find all the ways to do so in the description and in the pinned comment. Whether it's through a small donation or just watching and sharing, every bit of support means the world to me. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.